Grace and peace to you. We continue our study of Revelation. We're in Revelation chapter 20 and verse 8. In this situation, the millennial reign of Christ, the 1,000-year kingdom, has come to an end. It is going to have an unexpected climax. Satan is now gathering an army, similar to how he did in Revelation 19. Our text, "And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." To clarify Satan's agenda, he seeks to deceive once more, and once again, fools line up to believe him. He intends to stage yet another rebellion against God. An important thing to note: the millennial kingdom of Christ is taking place, but do not presume that all in the kingdom are righteous. Even beholding the miracles of God does not change someone's heart. We saw this time and again during the judgments of Revelation, which we've studied. People do not change because they see signs and wonders. Those being referenced here in the kingdom are those who have lived under the rule of Christ and, of course, have benefited from it. An example of this is in Isaiah 65:20, where it talks about an exceptionally long lifespan people will experience. The text there tells us that if someone was to die at 100 years old, they would be dying young by comparison. What is happening is you have two groups of persons then during the millennial kingdom. First is the simple common man. People who survived the tribulation period, they will be existing and procreating as normal in the new kingdom. But they will have a choice to make. They can either choose to follow God as the generations had been since the beginning of the millennial kingdom, or they can choose to follow Satan in his latest rebellion. Everyone has free will, but serving others and not serving God comes at a cost, as these people will see. So that's the first group then. Regular, everyday people, if you will. However, we also see, we had mentioned about believers who were raised by Christ at the beginning of the millennial kingdom. These individuals are immortal. We can see this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 53 through 55. And so Satan is intending to find rabble amongst the common people who want to attack God and the saints. When it says sand of the sea, it was an ancient figure of speech referring to something being massive and innumerable. We saw it in Genesis chapter 22 and verse 17. Now, Gog was a term. It referred to a coalition of northern leaders, and Magog meant the land of those leaders. So this is some northern alliance. The term, both of them, first appear in Ezekiel 38 and 39. This first coalition was destroyed when they tried to surround Israel and were destroyed by the intervention of God in those chapters. This happened during the tribulation. This is a new Gog and Magog, a new northern alliance. However, despite this new effort, the result ends up being the same as it was with the first rebellion, or previous rebellion. Verse 9 of our text. "And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them." And so another rebellion starts, only for it to immediately end again. It's quite sad. No one has learned by now. The verbiage in this verse speaks of its size. It was like a continent, a sea of people moving against God. Their objective was to attack the Almighty and his capital. The target was specifically Jerusalem, because the capital of the kingdom during the millennial kingdom is Jerusalem. Psalms 2, verse 6. Once again, another rebellion is stopped by divine intervention. Recall how many miracles God has used. The use of fire is but one he has in his arsenal. He used it also in 2 Kings chapter 1 and verse 10 as well. However, this will be the final rebellion. verse 10 of our text. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. A few things to note. I wanted to bring up that two individuals besides Satan are referenced. Satan himself is, of course, defeated. The great evil is now finally and permanently locked away. He'll never be seen again. This is also the last time that we see the beast, first introduced in Revelation 13:1, and the false prophet in Revelation 13:11. This is now their permanent abode, the lake of fire. They will not be returning again. What I wanted to bring up was that they were thrown in at the beginning of the millennial kingdom. They were put into the lake of fire when Christ arrived to earth 1,000 years ago at this point in Revelation 19:20. Notice that it says they are still there 1,000 years later. There is no such thing as soul sleep. The lake of fire, eternity, both heaven and hell, are permanent, and the condition is irreversible one way or the other. It's interesting to think about all that was thrown away. Obviously, someone like Satan, he has so embedded himself, so ingrained in himself this dark and bitter hatred that there is no coming back for him. But for all these other people, they had the opportunity to have Christ reign over them, and yet it was completely and totally rejected by those who did accept Satan's leadership. God had always wanted mankind to have a peaceful existence. We saw this in the book of Genesis specifically, prior to the grand deception of Genesis chapter 3 from Satan the serpent. Mankind lived in a perfect paradise, a world without problems and complications like we know today. It is unfortunate how many people throw away that future promise, so wrapped up in the here and now that they forget God's mercy in promising a permanent and lasting existence, one that is free from the toils that we experience today. It's important to remember that the book of Revelation speaks of a great many judgments, and we've covered them in excruciating detail in some cases. All of them have been covered verse by verse. But the biggest takeaway is to remember the mercy of God, because if God was not merciful, he would not provide us this warning and letting us know what is coming and how to prepare for it. The mercy of God is seen in the amount of effort he puts in trying to prepare us, the emphasis he puts on the message of forgiveness and of a better future. It is very important to understand the judgments of Revelation. This is why we've been so thorough. But do not forget the mercy of God for those who do accept that message. That's the end of our video for now. We are going to cover, we still have some of this chapter to cover. We'll be picking up verse 11 in the next video. But I pray the Lord bless you and keep you. We will keep studying Revelation, and until next time, God bless.